but better. We have to make sure the audio is correct, the video is correct, the moderators are talking to the speakers, and everything has to be done perfectly, right? Yeah. So, Patrick, what do you think about this? Hey, Patrick. Hey, Patrick.
Oh. Hey, yeah, that's amazing. In fact, I'm ready to do it all again. JiraCon22 will be bigger and better than JiraCon21. More community influencers, product managers, networking, gamification, the full works.
Yeah, Patrick, this is great, but you do remember what happened last year, right? We did an awesome virtual event, but everything did not go as planned.
Yeah, so I'll fix it. It's not a big deal. It's not rocket science. Well, I mean, yeah, it is, but you can trust me. I know what I'm doing.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, I believe in you. So let's do this. Why don't you work with the speakers and sponsors first, and we'll come back to this. I'll talk to you soon. I don't think we should risk it with Patrick. I think we'll have to build the rocket ourselves.
Yes!
Guys, we gotta do this and we gotta do this right. We are going to build a rocket, go to outer space and do JiraCon from there.
Boxes, I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop it, quitting was never an option. Exhausted, this passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it.
I had to switch up the flow, show you the way that it go. God is good, but his life is hard. But it gets better when you grind it smart. I'm just really trying to leave a mark. We tired of being who they say we are. That's the baton, we gon' take it far.
Always been real, we don't fake it all.
Tired of 9 to 5, just make enough to survive. Only living on the weekends. You really thinking that's why I'm alive? Busting out the scenes, time to live my dreams, do the things deep inside of me. This life it continues with fighting me, but I don't have quitting inside of me. I will not jump in these boxes.
Team, we've done an amazing job today. We've finally built our rocket and we are going to go to space and do JiraCon from there. I'm proud of each one of you who've spent so much time building this rocket. Now all that's left to do is wear our suits and go to space. Jennifer, are the codes ready?
It's done, sir.
Thank you, Jennifer. Team, are we ready?
Yes!
Are we ready?
Yes!
I guess we'll do it virtually, guys. I think that'll be better. Yeah, let's go.
Thank you, Sajid and team, for that stellar effort. As it turns out, it is rocket science. Nevertheless, here we are at JiraCon22, and it's amazing to see you all here. On behalf of the team at Trundl, thank you and welcome. I'm Patrick Howell. This is Trundl's second annual JiraCon event. Last year was our first giant leap into conference hostings. And this year we're looking to give you even more opportunities to meet peers in the Atlassian community and to learn from each other. Yes, this event is about you. What do you need done where you work? What features can you take advantage of with Jira? How can you make work less like work? If you're entering this event with those questions in mind, you'll find a lot of people who can help. Now, an event like this doesn't happen without help. Firstly, we must thank Atlassian. As a Platinum Enterprise Solution Partner, Trundle wouldn't exist without them. They've been fantastic partners and contributed both people and resources over these 2 days. They're embracing the openness of this event, and so should you. Next, I want to thank the teams at Trundle. We provide support and services to the Atlassian customer base, and we're also the development company behind Smart Assignments and Rotations for Jira, AppLoud, and our new product, Secure Forms. By being here at JiraCon, you can download these for free. Check them out. And if you need any help in connecting to anyone here at JiraCon, find us at our booth or direct message any Trundle employee. Next, I want to thank our sponsors. We know, as a solution partner, that every team is different and there's an equal number of expectations on what Jira and the Atlassian ecosystem can do to make work more productive and more efficient. If you spent any time as a Jira user, you'll know a lot of these companies. They aren't just sponsoring JiraCon, they're here and they're helping lead it. You can talk to them about reporting, project management, security, automation, testing and migrations, integrations, and more. It's what they do. Take advantage. Our presenting sponsors this year are Jexo and AppFire. Jexo is a developer of apps that simplify project management in Jira. If you've watched their weekly Atlassian Digest, Monday Coffee, or if you attended PM 72 back in the spring, you know that this team is very switched on to quality, just like their apps. Check out Swanley. Our other presenting sponsor is AppFire, one of the original partners in the Atlassian ecosystem from 2005, and the company behind 200 plus marketplace apps. Their solutions range from workflow automation to admin tools to business intelligence and everything in between. Let's hear a few words from these sponsors. Catch you in a minute.
Howdy, I'm Biro from Jexo, and this handsome devil here is Cody from AppFire. We're so relieved you took the decision to join us at JiraCon. Because if you didn't, you'd be missing out on some many great sessions about Jira in what's shaping up to be the best event of this autumn. Jexo has been the main sponsor at the first edition last year, and we're back for the second year.
So JiraCon has repeatedly lived up to its slogan, do cool shit with Jira. Patrick, Jitesh, and the Trundle team, they do such an incredible job at bringing the Atlassian ecosystem together and providing a place for everyone to share mind-blowing ideas, use cases, solutions, and so much more. JiraCon really is the place to help advance your Jira use for any team, not just the technical folks anymore.
But who are we? I'm Biro, a co-founder and handyman at Jexo, a fast-growing gold marketplace partner, making work management delightful, fun, and accessible to everyone through educational tools and awesome apps for Jira Cloud.
And I'm Cody Wooten, a channel manager for AppFire. So who are we? AppFire is a leading enterprise collaboration software provider for teams looking to make work flow. AppFire has the most widely adopted portfolio of Atlassian apps with over 200,000 plus active installations across tens of thousands of customers worldwide. We can't wait to see everyone. Anytime the ecosystem gets together like this, magic happens. So I'm looking forward to making magic happen with everybody on September 29th and 30th. Cheers.
Thank you, Jexo and AppFire. And thank you to all of our other sponsors here. Shout out to Agile Hive, Actonic, X-Ray, Decadus, Salto, EasyBI, Qmetry, Aptus, Mini Orange, Easy Agile, AppFox, Adaptivist, AlphaServe, Automation Consultants, JXL, and finally Release Team. Thank you. Now this year, Trundle is partnered with 2 charities. One of them is Charity Water. Climate change has many negative effects globally, but one of them is sustainable access to clean water. 771 million people are affected by this issue. Charity Water brings community-focused projects ready for funding. So far, they've helped over 15 million people since 2006. This year, Trundle is fully funding a well rehabilitation project in Malawi, a project that, once completed, will provide 300 people sustainable access to water, improving their lifelong health and economic opportunities. There's more. And as you may have seen, 30% of JiraCon past proceeds are going to UNICEF's Ukraine Fund for children, and families. UNICEF is a Jira shop and actually one of Trundl's customers. And we're really proud to have them here part of today's event. This was inspired by AlphaServe, actually, one of our sponsors. If you don't know AlphaServe, they are based in Mykolaiv, Ukraine, and they are a solution partner and marketplace app developer. The last 8 months have been extremely difficult for Ukraine and that community. And I wanted to give Anna of AlphaServe a chance to say a few words from her location in Kyiv.
Hello everyone, I'm Anna from AlphaServe, Atlassian Platinum Marketplace partner from Ukraine and Atlassian community leader. I'm very happy to join this event and I thank the Trundle team for this opportunity. Despite the awful war that is happening in my beautiful and peaceful country, as all the Ukrainians, we continue to work and doing all that we can because we need to win, to protect our independence and to protect human values. I kindly invite you to join the donation initiative from UNICEF. Stand with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!
Thank you, Anna, and thank you to all the pass holders and sponsors. In total, Trundle will be contributing $12,000 to both UNICEF and Charity Water, in addition to the contributions coming in from pass holders and sponsors. Visit the Trundle booth to learn more about these charities. The keynote session will begin soon, but I want to cover a few things about the structure of this event and some tips on how to make the most of it. Navigation is number one. The lobby is your home base. You can always find your way back there from the navigation bar up at the top. There are 4 main auditoriums: Orion, Gemini, Apollo, and Mercury. Anytime you go to an auditorium, you can join a live session. You can also go to the agenda at the top and join sessions from there or add them to a future schedule so you don't miss them. Don't forget games and prizes. We have a scavenger hunt with 2 $100 Amazon gift card prizes if you find 10 logos scattered across the event. There's also points for prizes. This year we're giving away an iPad mini, a GoPro 10, and an Apple iWatch to our top 3-point scorers, and swag bags to our top 50 point scorers. Points lean heavily towards participating in sessions and connecting with folks in the exhibit hall. Take advantage. Check out the rules. You'll get a lot out of it. Last thing, JiraCon is a 2-day event. So you know there's only so many sessions you can see. Here's some advice. See the sessions you need to see live. Meet the people you want to meet live. Every session will be recorded. And as a pass holder, you're going to get access to all of them. If you're attending on day 1 and there's a session on day 2 that's going on at 2 a.m. your time, we don't expect you to lose sleep, unless you want to. You'll get on-demand access to the recording. That's the hidden value of JiraCon. Our keynote session is being led by Mark Cruth. At Atlassian, Mark has the very cool title of Modern Work Evangelist. He's a world-renowned communicator on organizational change, product design, and agile concepts. Now please enjoy his session, Resilience and Reinvention in a Radically Changing World.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that warm introduction, Patrick, and for having me here at JiraCon22. I'm super excited to be here and to kind of kick this whole thing off. Now, as Patrick mentioned, my name is Mark Cruth, and I'm a modern work evangelist here at Atlassian. I spend my days working with teams inside and outside of Atlassian to solve problems around, honestly, how they work in this wild modern world we live in. And then I get to go tell people about it, just like today. Now, it's fun to dream about what could be in the future. But honestly, to me, if we look around, there are inches all around us that can help us get better. And that's my whole focus. So, if you're here, you're probably familiar with Atlassian, right? And I'm guessing our values. So, I like to start these presentations out kind of grounding us in the values that kind of guide us here at Atlassian. And for today's presentation, I kind of want to focus on one specific value. I really love Be the Change You Seek because it really speaks to this idea of resilience and reinvention. And I also like to start these sorts of things off with a story. So let me tell you about a moment of resilience and reinvention I experienced early in my career. My first job out of school was working for Boeing out of Seattle, Washington. It was awesome. I was part of a team that supported the newest 787 aircraft by building and deploying the digital user manual for the aircraft to our customers. Now, to give you some context, the manual was something like a 787, if printed, would actually take up an entire wall, like all the wall behind me. Now, in 2011, the first 787 aircrafts went into service. Orders went through the roof. Every airline was lining up to buy one. It was great. It was good times for us. Now, a little over a year after launch, a problem with the aircraft emerged, which started causing some issues. Now, onboard 787 aircrafts are 2 lithium-ion batteries designed to help kind of start the airplane at the very beginning and be a redundant power supply in case anything happens at mid-flight. Well, a problem started to occur where the battery packs were overheating and, unfortunately, starting to catch fire. Something no one wants to hear at 36,000 feet. The entire fleet of aircraft were grounded. Millions of dollars were being lost every day because we weren't flying and we weren't building. The interesting thing was a technical fix was actually quickly identified. We even spent some time talking to Elon Musk about lithium-ion batteries. But for the FAA to certify the fix, the digital user manual needed to be updated too. You'd think that making a change to something like a user manual would be super easy. Not so much. A normal change in the kind of technical diagrams and digital rendering could take up to 6 months based on our current software development practices. Our leadership team actually said they supported us. If we said we needed 6 months, we could have 6 months. But the team, we weren't okay with that. We knew the impact this was having out there. We knew we could do better. So we focused on how we could safely reduce that 6-month delivery time frame. And thanks to some creative thinking, we released the updated changes to the user manual. And you want to know what's really cool? We didn't release the changes in 6 months. We released them in less than a month. And after that moment, every change that followed came through that new process we invented because we took on the challenge of reinventing how it worked. Now, I still remember the first 787 taking off out of a Boeing field in Renton after the fix was made. Still kind of gives me goosebumps to this day, just kind of thinking about that. And then this actually here, this is a picture I took from May 2017 of the first 787 I had the chance to fly on. I was on my way to Europe for an event. And I just remember thinking, it was part of the reason this aircraft was flying around the world today. Positive stories like this of adversity and triumph, they feel like they're from a time long ago, right? Like a simpler time where the world was a little less, chaotic. Today it feels like we have our pick of bad things impacting our lives. Maybe it's a pandemic, maybe it's a war, a recession. I hear murder hornets are back in style again. Who knows, honestly, what's going to be next? It really could be about anything, right? We've all received a handful of scars over the last few years, some physical and some mental. But you know what? We made it. By God, we made it. Honestly, thanks to our collective resilience and our ability to reinvent, we could have just crawled in a hole these last few years, but instead, we embraced remote work. We left the modern day comforts of our indoor spaces and spent a little bit more time outdoors. And, most importantly, we all got really good at making sourdough bread from watching all those YouTube videos. Honestly, who's still got their starter in the fridge, right? When looking back at everything, I kind of laugh a little at just everything we've gone through. You know, that kind of gets me thinking, why don't we all just laugh a little, right? Huh? Why don't we do that? When was the last time you had a really good laugh? Like a belly laugh? Well, if it's been a while, I'd like to change that. You're going to find out from me that I like exercises. I like kind of moving you out of your comfort zone. So what I want to do is I want us all just to take a moment and let out our best laugh. I mean, force it out. Just laugh, even if you can't think of anything funny. What we're going to do is we're going to take 30 seconds, and that's how much time I just want you to laugh. All right? Can we do it? Can we do it? All right. Ready, set, go. together. Okay. That's time. That's time. I think I have some tears going on here. I don't know about you, but that felt pretty good. When we talk about this idea of resilience and reinvention, many of us think about the idea of things like grit and determination, which, don't get me wrong, are part of the equation. But these are only good at kind of getting us started, in my perspective. Grit is about sustained, consistent efforts towards a goal. Even when we struggle, we falter, and maybe even fail. In my mind, it's going 30 days without missing the gym, saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going 30 days. Now, resilience, on the other hand, that's our ability to bounce back after we've struggled, we've faltered, and we've failed. To me, this is actually going back to the gym after you missed day 30 of your 30 days to the gym because you were sick. You could have just thrown that in, but you know what? You went back. That's resilience. Grit gets you started, but resilience is not allowing anything to stop you. Like a pandemic, a war, you name it. That's why resilience is just really a superpower. Today, I want to show you what resilience looks like and give you actually some practical techniques that you can use to help enable you and your teams to be more resilient. To become more resilient, we need to actually learn how to cope with things like adversity. And to do that, we've actually got to focus on 3 attributes. Those attributes are going to be hope, optimism, and positivity. Focusing on these attributes enables us to develop a growth mindset, a way to give ourselves permission to be flexible and know that shit might hit the fan, but we'll find our way through it. I want to tell you 3 stories now to illustrate each of these attributes, to learn what it looks like in the wild, as well as give you a little inspiration. So I think our first stop here is going to be talking about hope. To give you a little context about me, I live just outside the city of Detroit. You know, if you know Detroit, you know, we're the Motor City, birthplace of the car, Motown, and we might fight New Yorkers on this, but I would say birthplace of Coney dogs out there, so delicious. There is an unfortunate reality about Detroit, though, I think many people are aware of. We're also the second most impoverished city in the U.S., with roughly 30% of our residents living below the poverty line. A powerful way to actually help enable people to move beyond that poverty line is through education. So providing the kids of Detroit access to education is critical, you can imagine. Well, then March 13th, 2020 happened, and everything changed. With the onset of COVID, the biggest tool to fighting poverty, which is education, was ripped away from nearly 40% of the residents of Detroit who didn't have internet access. Now, among Detroit's public schools, now this is K through 12, only 30% of those students had access to internet. And what's even wilder, within the age group where education is most impactful, where it's most developing in a child, K through 8, only 10% of families had access to even a device with internet access. Some of these kids actually had access to a cell phone, maybe no cell plan, and what they would do is they would walk over to their local Taco Bell and just use the Wi-Fi in there in order to access their class material. Can you even imagine all of a sudden having no way to learn because all the buildings are locked and the only place to learn is a place you can't even access? Now, this wasn't a new problem in Detroit. The Digital Justice Coalition has been working to help bring internet to the low-income, underserved areas of Detroit since 2009. But the year 2020 really accelerated things. One of the front lines of the Digital Justice Coalition is going to be the Digital Stewards Program. Detroit residents are essentially trained in this program in digital engineering skills, so they can actually help design and build mesh networks to actually bring Wi-Fi to their very own community. So we want people in the communities actually helping to build this out. Now, when COVID hit, though, safety became the utmost concern. How could we have a digital steward go and actually do installations if they can't enter a person's home? So what did the stewards do? They figured out that they could develop a kit that they could actually give residents to install inside their own homes. And they could then talk them through that process while they were outside doing the installation from the outside of the home. They called it Internet in a Box. They essentially reinvented how home installs occurred, which enabled the whole program to accelerate its reach in a time when everything else was slowing down. And what's really cool, the outcome of all this, in just 2 years' time, the number of Detroiters without internet access dropped from 40% all the way to 25%. That's amazing. Although this is progress and it's awesome, the story isn't over yet. Thousands of people in Detroit still need reliable access. But that feeling of hope is alive. And it's all about saying we can make broadband internet available to everyone in the city. If we can do it through the pandemic, we can do it anytime. I really do love that story because it radiates this idea that hope is having confidence and trust that a particular event or outcome can and will occur. Not wishful thinking, as they might say. It's a resolute belief that things can and will be better. The residents of Detroit were resolute that nothing, not even a global pandemic, would prevent them from helping those in need. And you know what's even better? Science has actually provided that people who practice hope throughout their lives have better physical and mental health, they have better social support, and you know what's even better? They live longer. So let's take a look at the next attribute. Let's talk about optimism. Y'all know what this is, I think, right? This is the Mars rover Perseverance, designed to learn new things about our red neighbor in the sky. The mission to send Perseverance to Mars was actually called Mars 2020 because the window to launch a ship to Mars was between July 17th and August 30th of 2020. It's a window that only opens every 26 months. Leading up to the launch, Adam Stelzner, chief engineer for the mission, recalls that the name Perseverance was actually decided on March 5th, 2020. He wasn't a big fan of the name when it was picked because he says, you know, to have a name like Perseverance, you need to have some, adversity. NASA's been launching rovers to Mars for years. This wasn't their first rodeo. What kind of adversity are we going to face? Oh, Adam. Oh, Adam. Well, a week later, March 12th, 2020, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, designers of the rover, had a practice work from home day because there was this virus spreading and there were thoughts that there might need to be some time working from home for the next week or two. Well, as we all know, that week or two turned into nearly 2 years, both for us and for them. The team at JPL realized that they had 4 months until their window opened to launch to Mars. And without the ability to meet in person, there were concerns that they might not be able to meet that window. And if they did, they would have to wait that 26 months, with, if you do the math, is happening right now. September of 2022, they would have had to wait till now to actually launch Perseverance. The team at JPL is used to these sorts of things, right? Things like crazy challenges they have to solve, insurmountable odds, the usual. Remember Curiosity, the rover that they had to land through actually creating a sky crane that hovered above the ground? When faced with things like COVID, the engineers at JPL just say, hey, we're rocket scientists. We literally figure out the most complex, hard to solve problems. That's our day-to-day job. We can do this. So they went to work. They transitioned 90% of their team to remote. In this new mode, the teams continue to build and tweak its software on the rover, their mission planning, and their operations procedures. The team actually created a community page to share thoughts on best practices and provide moral support to each other. They even changed their meeting cadence in order to make time for those hallway conversations or water cooler talk. For things that did require actual work on the rover, the lab instituted what they call a safe at work set of procedures, basically to ensure that anyone who needs to be in the lab was safe in the process. And when it actually came time to launch, they even came up with a clever way to do pre-flight checks using smartphones to allow remote team members to be able to check all aspects of the robot before it went into space. After all that hard work, Perseverance successfully launched on July 30th, 2020. And you know what happened on February 18th, 2021, approximately 6 months later? Perseverance landed safely on Mars and has been operating ever since. Just another day in the office for the crew at JPL, right? Like hope, optimism is all about being confident that good things are coming. The difference, though, is that hope tends to be isolated to a specific event, like, I hope that this talk kind of makes a positive impact on you. Optimism, on the other hand, is a perpetual state of belief that good things are coming and they're going to continue to come. Now, like the JPL people, they've accomplished the impossible before. They never stop believing that they'd be able to make their launch. Optimism gives you those same benefits of health, of long life that hope does. But a big thing that optimism brings to the table is the ability to bounce back. No matter how hard things get, you know you'll make it. Let's talk about our last attribute. That's our friend positivity. On the outskirts of Chicago, you'll find District 63. In that district, you'll find 5 art teachers. After the buildings closed and virtual learning started in March 2020, each of those art teachers realized that they needed to collaborate a little bit more to figure out how they could help their students learn in a class that is typically done with a room full of material. Think paints, paper, clay. The school district supported some of the lowest income populations in the Chicago suburbs, where students really didn't have much, maybe not even crayons. And the biggest hurdle these teachers needed to overcome was how to enable students to self-express those creative energies, especially during a time of isolation and distancing. So they asked themselves, how can we have art class when students don't have supplies? Well, the teachers decided to get a little scrappy. They said art could be made of anything. So that's what they did. Students made art on everything from paper plates to napkins to scraps of cardboard. Teachers encouraged kids to think outside the box, be creative, and stay positive. They asked, what in your home could be made into art? And you know what's even better? The supplies did ultimately come. The teachers actually went back to their school district, they requested funds, they sought donations, and they were able to provide students with some of the essentials. At the end of the day, they provided nearly 2,200 students with things like oil pastels, permanent markers, large sheets of drawing paper, watercolor sets, you name it, all in an effort to help students really unleash their creativity. Can you imagine what would have happened if these teachers just accepted the bad cards that had been dealt to them and said something like, oh, well, I guess I can't help these kids while we're remote, so, we'll just deal with it. No. They stayed positive and they made the best out of a bad situation. They encouraged their students to do the same too. And in the end, the positivity enabled them to keep those creative energies going long enough for reinforcements to arrive in the form of our supplies. Where hope and optimism focus in on what's to come, the big differences with positivity is that it's all about the here and now. It's about how we react in a situation. Is the glass half full or is it half empty? Lots of people look at positivity as a form of almost irrational happiness. But in actuality, it's about accepting the current situation and just making the most out of it. That's resilience. Now, these 3 attributes are the key to being more resilient and inventive when the cards are essentially stacked against us. That's easier said than done, right? Whether you're in Detroit, Chicago, or maybe on the surface of Mars. We need to shift our mindset. We need to unlock these attributes in us. We need to exercise these ideas, not just with our minds, but with our bodies. Now, we know that exercise helps our bodies, but it also helps our minds. In fact, exercise actually helps to rewire our brains to be more resilient. So let's build up a little resilience. What do you say, huh? What I'd like to do, because you know me, I'm an exercise kind of guy, we're going to do 3 stretching exercises here on this meeting. These are things you can do wherever, whenever you are. Maybe you're at your desk, maybe you're at a coffee shop. These are all exercises that you can do to kind of really unleash just a little bit of resilience in you every day. So go ahead, make sure that you have some space around you to get started, and let's get into this thing. All right, so the first exercise we're going to do is called the neck lateral flex. What we're going to do is you're going to put your hand and you're going to put it on the one side of your head. And what you're going to do is you're going to pull just enough, just so it feels comfortable, but a little bit more, just a little bit more than that. And what you're going to do is you're going to hold that for 10 seconds. Let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, now we're going to repeat on the other side. Let's grab again, switch hands, pull, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nice work, nice work. All right, let's do another one. Next one is going to be the upper body rotation. So basically, put your arms out, bend your elbows. Now we're going to do a rotate side to side 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, maybe popping some vertebrates there, feeling a little good. All right, so we got one last one to do. This is going to be the arm lift. So what I need to do is raise one arm in the air, put the other one raised down behind you. Basically squeeze your shoulder blades together so they try to get them to touch, and you're stretching out like as far as you can. And I want you to hold this for 5 seconds to stretch as far as you can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we're going to do another one now. All right, other arm up, other arm down. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, good, good. All right, bonus, one last thing. I want you to raise both arms in the air. All right, we're there. Now wave them around like you just don't care. All right, thanks for being a good sport with me on that. Now, we may have rewired our brains just a little, but as the saying goes, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Things like COVID, war, and recession are not new things, and they won't be the last time we see them, and especially in our lifetime. We can't just be nostalgic for simpler times. We actually have to find our hope. We have to find our optimism and our positivity. And so I believe there are 3 things we all can and honestly must do from here on out to build up our resilience. So let's kind of review those and keep a lookout for some of those tips and tricks that you can take from this. Number 1 has everything to do with our state of mind. Let me ask you a question. Imagine you're a local restaurant owner and it's March of 2020. How are you feeling right now? My guess, it's probably pretty terrified. Overnight, local businesses realized that they couldn't just do the same thing they'd always done. They had to reinvent themselves, how they serve their customers. And you know what this did? It led to some really innovative ideas. I personally think the surge in outdoor dining was really neat to watch, both in my local community as well as around the world. What were empty, dirty streets became full of life and color again, thanks to outdoor seating and different areas kind of popping up and it becoming feeling very organic. Being from the Midwest, winters threatened to kind of end that outdoor seating scene. So we've seen owners put up those bubble tents to kind of solve the problem. I can only imagine the conversation and how it went when they decided to do this. So, it's going to get cold out. How are we going to still serve our customers outside? You know, I've got a wild idea. Let's purchase some of those bubble tents that people use for ice fishing. Put one party in each tent, maybe add a heater in there. It'll work great. Amazing, right? So, what's the first thing then we must do based off this? We must constantly be innovating. Being able and willing to challenge our own assumptions and think there might be a better way to do this leads us to build up things like optimism because we know we can solve anything. Not all restaurants survived the pandemic, we know that. But those who did were successful because they innovated. Now, a great way to unleash some innovative thinking is by doing some super simple but sometimes kind of super uncomfortable activities. One of those is called brainstorming. I think we've all done that, but maybe don't feel so good about it. The problem I see a lot of times teams and people facing when it comes down to brainstorming is that many times we don't actually know how to approach it. We're like, do we just come up with ideas? I mean, how do we do that? Is it just a time box? Here at Atlassian, we've literally written the playbook on teamwork, and one of those plays is called Disruptive Brainstorming. This play outlines how to actually run a powerful brainstorming session with a step-by-step instructions on how to really get the most out of that brainstorming time. It includes examples, different ways you can run it. It's great. And if you scan the QR code on the screen, it'll send you right over to the playbook play so you can check it out for yourself. The second thing goes back to something that's a little bit more difficult because it's all about pulling the curtains back and getting real with ourselves. So for me, this kind of manifests in the form of an unhealthy relationship with food. I love to eat. I imagine you do too, right? And the stuff on the screen right now looks delicious, I will admit. But unfortunately, I kind of let that take a hold of me over the last few years in some not so healthy ways. So like many people out there, when I was young, I could pretty much eat anything I wanted, and I was fine. I stayed in a pretty good weight. It was a great time. But as time went on, I kept up that pattern, but my body didn't agree. It started gaining weight. It started gaining a lot of weight. And in 2017, I actually reached my largest at around 270 pounds. That's a lot. Now, having 2 kids at the time, I have 3 now, but at the time I had 2, I started to become really aware that if I didn't change something, this could actually prevent me from being there for my family in the future, like legitimately being there. So I started working on losing the weight. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but with a little hope and determination, I lost almost 80 pounds. It was amazing. I felt good. There are still ups and downs. I'm a little more conscious of the things I put in my mouth now. And I ask, for sugar-free syrup when I get my pumpkin cream cold brew, but it's all about being aware. So what's the second thing we must do? Always be self-aware. We can only power through adversity when we're aware of it. Resilience is not brushing off a problem and ignoring it. It's acknowledging it and saying, so what? I can make it through that. Now, as individuals, we can become more self-aware. But what about teams? Teams get work done, not individuals. So we need to think about how teams become more self-aware. Heading back over into the Atlassian team playbook, we have a play called the Team Health Monitor. Similar to a retrospective, the Health Monitor allows teams to take a hard look at how they work. It's checking the vitals of the team to ensure that nothing's really holding that team back. Does the team have a shared understanding of their purpose? Does the team have the right skills to be successful in what they're doing? Even does the team understand how they're being measured and how those measures are calculated? Grab a picture of this QR code if you're interested in this play, and it will send you right on over there. Because honestly, to me, becoming self-aware as a team enables both you and your team to be resilient and inventive in this unpredictable world we're in. The third item, and it's probably the hardest one of them all. Not because it's difficult, but because it's a muscle that many of us don't know how to properly strengthen, properly use. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, my parents always said, say thank you when someone does something nice for you. I imagine this was the same with many of you. Now, the problem is over the years, it's kind of become almost an automatic response. Someone opens the door for me, thank you. Someone hands me a cup of coffee at Starbucks, thank you. The problem with it being an automatic response is that it starts to kind of lose its meaning. Do we truly mean it? Or are we just saying it out of the fact that we want to be nice and it's just that automatic response? Well, one of the cool things is over the last few years, at least in what I've witnessed, is I believe we've hit a new renaissance of gratitude in the world. I think we've rediscovered what those 2 little words really mean. And honestly, we've started to shout it from the rooftops, literally. One of the coolest stories coming out of 2020 was the nightly 2 minutes of gratitude that New Yorkers did. Now, in the city, every night at 7 p.m., New Yorkers would open their windows, they'd step out on their balconies, they'd go out into their fire escapes or even go out into their rooftops, and they'd spend 2 minutes saying thank you to all the frontline workers. They banged down pots and pans, they played instruments, they just screamed thank you. And the thing here is people didn't have to do this. They wanted to do this. They realized that people are putting their lives on the line to keep the city that never sleeps moving. So what's the third thing that we all must do from here on out? Always be gracious. Practicing gratitude doesn't just help others feel appreciated, it actually helps us too. Science shows that when we say thank you, it generates positive emotions in our brains that, stay with us and help fight things like adversity and improve our overall mental health well after we gave that thanks. And here's the secret. Practicing gratitude doesn't actually start with saying thank you to others. If you really want to unlock the power of gratitude, we need to actually start with ourselves. When you think about your day so far, what are 3 things you're grateful for? Your first thought might be, I don't know, The thing is if you look really hard, not even really hard, just dig a little deeper, you're probably going to find plenty of things that you're thankful for. For me, let's see here. One, I'm thankful for being able to talk with you all today. This is great, just having that ability. I'm thankful for my family and the fact that they're all healthy right now. And I'm also thankful that my Mac isn't forcing an automatic update on my computer right now like it did last week. So, little things, right? If you did this exercise, let's say every day, or maybe every week, or every month, or even for a year, talk about the mountain of things that you could find in your day-to-day life that you're grateful for. Well, out of Australia, there's an organization called the Resilience Project, and their mission is to help people practice gratitude, empathy, and mindfulness. They call it GEM. You can actually learn more about them by snapping a picture of that QR code. Now, when practicing GEM, one of the activities they encourage people to do each day is write down 3 things they're grateful for. They found that by doing this every day, it has the power to shift a person's perspective and honestly become more positive. So here's my challenge to you. I want to challenge you to become a little bit more resilient by practicing gratitude. For the next 7 days, I want you to spend 5 minutes at the end of every day and just write down 3 things that you're grateful for that day. If you need help, I recommend putting a reminder on your phone to make sure that you actually don't miss a day. It says, hey, go make sure you write that down. And here's the thing. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be anything special. Maybe you had a really good team meeting. Maybe your coffee was just right this morning. Just look for the things that you're thankful for. And here's step number 2. On the 7th day, here's the big thing. I want you to share what you're grateful for with me. Send me an email, send me a LinkedIn message, tweet me. Whatever you're going to do, I want you to tell me what you're grateful for. I'm expecting to see my inbox just light up here in 7 days, all right? Now, before we wrap and send you all out to the conference, we need to do one last thing. You know how I had you laugh, just like you heard the funniest joke, and then had you do a little Zoom cardio? Well, there's a reason for that. The best way to become more inventive, more self-aware, more gracious, to become more resilient, is to make our brains more adaptable, to unlock that thing they talk about, neuroplasticity. Science actually tells us there's 3 ways to do this. First, we can laugh to unlock pathways of joy and mirth in our brains. Second, we can exercise to improve our mood, reduce our stress. And third, we can dance so that we can reconnect and accept who we are to be more resilient. So I think you know where I'm going from here, right? The last exercise I want you all to do is join me and kind of start really getting those dancing energy going here at JiraCon. And we're going to do it for 60 seconds. Just dance like nobody's watching. So I'd like you to join me, along with some of your fellow conference speakers, organizers, and others. This help us shift our mindsets, kind of let a little loose. The timer starts. Everybody, great work. So first off, thank you so much for sticking around and joining us here for JiraCon22. Super excited for the rest of this conference. Go out there, jump into sessions here in just a moment, go learn, engage, and you know what? If you get a chance, maybe do a little bit more dancing out there, right? Break into that party. So again, Mark Cruth here. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll be seeing you around the conference. Bye all.